the incumbent MPs in the 2020 elections were very, very small. In fact, the Sine West constituency is a place where they're doing the question. Afterwards, there will be a declaration. At the Constituency Coalition Center, we'll get to know who is the member of parliament elect. And we'll get to know which presidential candidate has won the presidential in that constituency. So those are the two events going to be happening at the Constituency Coalition Center. After that, the next day or two, we'll wait for what's going to be happening at the National Coalition Center at the Electoral Commission office. My colleagues are there for us here on your Election Command Center, so we'll keep an eye on how things play out. And bear in mind, there are a number of independent candidates as well. For the parliamentary, there are 111 independent candidates across the country who contested in a number of the constituencies that we've been looking at. 111. It's the highest we've had in our Fourth Republic. And then for the presidential, we have 4 independent presidential candidates, right? And that's also the highest. Let's cross over to the NDC office right now. Sami Jemfi, the National Communications Officer, is addressing the press.
Across the 276 constituencies of Ghana. Fellow comrades, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Today is decision day. But the decision doesn't end with voting at polling stations, the sorting of ballot papers, the counting of the ballot papers, and the declaration of results at polling stations. The election is a process. What has transpired so far is just one element of that process. After the counting and declaration of results at polling stations, polling agents and supporters of the party are supposed to accompany the EC officials together with the electoral materials, especially the ballot box, to various constituency coalition offices of the EC, or coalition centers of the Electoral Commission. In all 276 constituencies, there are designated places as constituency coalition centers. That is the stage we have got into at the moment. This is where every Ghanaian, especially NDC supporters and sympathizers, must join our polling agents and observers and security teams to accompany EC officials with various ballot boxes and electoral materials to various EC constituency coalition centers. And so if you are listening to this address on behalf of our leader and father, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, on behalf of the incoming President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, make your way to your constituency coalition center. If you were at the polling station at the time of declaration, I'm sure you are by now following the ballot box and other electoral materials to the EC coalition center in your constituency, the constituency coalition center. If you were not at the polling station and you're hearing this message, wherever you are in your constituency, this is the time for you to play your role. You have voted. Your votes have been counted and declared at the polling station. Now you have the responsibility to protect those votes. And so this new stage of constituency coalition is of utmost importance to all of us. And our leader would want all of us to stop the jubilation until results are duly collated, declared at the constituency coalition centers, the results forms at the constituency coalition centers duly filled and signed by the various party coalition agents, and our agent is giving his or her copy. You don't jubilate. You only jubilate after the results have been declared, agents have signed, or better still, our agent has had the official certified copy of the results so declared by the Electoral Commission at the Constituency Collation Center. This is the reason for this press conference. And please, when the results is duly declared and we take a copy of the results form as required by law, ensure that the results as declared is posted at the Constituency Collation Center. You take your phones, you take pictures of that as evidence. It is very important that we all do that. We also want to put all our agents, our executives, from the branch level to the ward level to the constituency level to the regional level and the national level on high alert. The NPP is desperate, and when you're dealing with a group of people who are vicious and desperate at the same time, you need to be careful. You need to remain vigilant until the last vote is counted and the results is finally declared by the returning officer for the presidential election at the national level. We have picked intel that the NPP has now activated their rigging machinery to its full potential. In the next couple of minutes, and in fact they have already started, they will be engaging, or they will be trying to snatch ballot boxes and swap ballot boxes. They will be trying to swap pink sheets. They will be trying to use their thugs to manipulate the outcome of the election results. Don't forget what happened at Techiman South in 2020. Don't forget. And so let's all remain vigilant. This is not the time for celebration. We all know the outcome, and the time for celebrating that outcome will soon come. But for now, we need to work. We need to be vigilant. And so if you're listening to me now, please go to your constituency collation center now. And all our party supporters, those who are in the position to defend and protect our agents and officials, please move to the constituency.
Ready for school?
Yes!
My champs, they use a lot of energy at school. I know, because imagine the energy they
So far that stuck out for you?
I think the story that we are hearing from all over the country, in the Greater Accra, Central and West region, I feel very much vindicated. I think about 90% or more of our predictions have come true, including those that were seen to be outrageous and ridiculous. we've never doubted our figures. We have stuck our neck out. Indeed, people were following me saying that I've said if it doesn't happen, my head should be chopped off. But I know the work we have done over the years. And I've never put emotions above figures. So I know time will come that we will be vindicated. And I think we are looking at that situation now.
I see. And speaking of numbers, I want to tell our viewers that we'll be crawling verified polling station numbers that have come through to our data center. And in a tad, Alfred and Martin will be going through some of those numbers on our dashboard. In the meantime, you should log on to 3news.com and then play around our election page where you find that dashboard. Some of those verified polling station numbers will be there as well. But let's come back to the studio. Mr. Danquah, this level of vigilance, is it unprecedented or we have seen this before?
No, I think this is highly unprecedented. People from polling stations at all levels of the parties have been very, very vigilant. There hasn't been room for anybody to manipulate. And I think education by the parties themselves has taught their officers the rules of the game and then the law. Applying the law and the rules has made it very difficult for people to manipulate the electoral system. And I think it should become the norm because, I mean, nobody should be allowed to steal the will of the people. Pockets of issues around, I don't think it is very widespread. We shouldn't generalize it, and I don't think there's any lesson that we can completely say that this will be out.
But if it was secure, people wouldn't have reason to be this vigilant.
No, the vigilant was because they believed that the vote will be stolen. Not because of the violence, I think. So the violence is a different matter from the kind of the stolen verdict that could have engulfed those parties who were going to suffer. But if you look at what people have done in the last, before the elections, during the election, and even now, as we are hearing, I think they have systems in place to make sure that nobody can circumvent the will of the people. And I think in democracy, that should be the first thing we should do. Secure the vote of the people, not allow anybody to win a seat without the right mandate.
And we also just heard the communications officer for the NDC, Sami Jemfi, speak to the party's base to remain vigilant, ensure that they are at the collation center with eagle eyes to ensure that nothing untoward happens there. Is it really necessary?
Hey, this 11th hour, I think everything you can do to secure your win, your genuine win, I think you must do it. And I think we don't want to be here tomorrow to have a court case, file a petition at the Supreme Court, trying to overturn. This election is not for that.
Very well.
And that's why I think Ghanaians were resolute in what they want to do. If you look at what is happening and the numbers that we have seen, if that trend continues, I think there will not be any argument about the outcome of this election.
Very well. Mr. Danquah, I'm just getting information, and perhaps when we get that information in whole, I'll share with you. But Mr. Danquah, thank you for the submission. I'll move on to Lawyer Kpebu now. Lawyer, on the same subject, all the things that we have seen in the last hour or so, what are your thoughts, really?
You see, to be honest, though we've not yet seen the full picture, but with what we've seen, it's not that good. Not good because to the extent that we've lost one person.
Mr. Kpebu, I'm just going to interrupt you again. I apologize. I want to speak with the NDC parliamentary candidate for Ewutu Senya East, Phyllis Nakoyo. Good evening to you. We understand that you are under attack. Talk to us about what is happening with you.
Hello.
talk to us about what's happening.
Hello?
Phyllis, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yes, what's happening?
I went out to visit one of the collection centers, which is Iron City. I went to take to Christ first. I realized that there was a VA, which is Awakusi VA, with the boys, Tima, and the rest, the same boys I complained about. They have followed me and they have shot one of my guys. In fact, they shot at my car several times.
I see. And what's the situation there where you are now?
One guy is dead. It is not peaceful. Obviously, when someone is dead, how can it be peaceful? How can it be calm? There's a dead person lying down there. I want to say I killed someone. He wants to take my life, and he has killed someone and injured another. What is the police doing about it?
Phyllis, how do you know that this V8 that pursued you is from your opponent, Hawa Kumsin? Hello, Phyllis. Phyllis.
I know it is because I know the car. I know the boys as well. This is not the first time the boys are coming to Kaswa. They have been to Kaswa before. They were in Kaswa 2020, and they were the same people who attacked me.
Phyllis, are you safe where you are right now? Can you hear me, Phyllis?
I am not saying my life is in danger. My life is in danger, and the lives of my entire family. The lives of my entire family is in danger as we speak.
Phyllis, have you reported this incident to the police yet?
Yes, I have.
What action has been taken by the police?
Whether I want to like it or not, I have taken her out. Whether she likes it or not, I have won the election.
Phyllis, let's calm tempers. We'll wait for the election in Ewutu Senya East to be declared by the Electoral Commission. In the meantime, I'm asking you, what action did the police take when you reported to them?
They haven't taken any action yet. Right now, I'm struggling. There are two people lying down, struggling for their life. One is dead. The other two is very serious issues.
I see, Phyllis. You sound like your men are also ready to go out there. We hope that will not be the situation. Well, it would appear Phyllis can no longer hear me, but Phyllis Nakoyo is the parliamentary candidate of the NDC in the Ewutu Senya area. She contested with Hawa Kumsin. She's alleging Hawa Kumsin's people pursued her and have killed one of her people. We can now take you to Ablekuma West, where Portia Gabo is there for us. Hello, Portia.
Open it to realize that these were fake ones. So we have some people here. What's the current situation? What happened?
Okay, actually we were here and we saw some guys bringing a ballot boxes. So then we sensed that no, this is not right. So we approached them and checked the box. When we checked the box, it was a ballot papers and they put this Osla. These are the you can check it. I think this empty.
This is the fake one. This is the fake one. This is the fake one. Look at the stamp.
Yes, hey.
Look at the stamp.
They put a stamp.
So my
this is a fake stamp.
This is a fake stamp.
I'm a Ghanaian and I love luxury accredited faith. And I love democracy. December 7th, Ghana is voting. Only peace. Peace, I give it to you all.
I love Ghana.
Peaceful election before, during, and after.
One Ghana.
Peace.
Yes.
So this is the current situation at Mount Olivet Collection Center. There was a party agent entering inside the collection center carrying a box which was unsealed. And then the vigilance of residents here, they saw what was ongoing and they quickly pounced on him and beat him up. So currently the police police are trying to manage the situation, and I will get back to you when we get full details of what has happened to the party agents involved.
Well, Portia Gabo there from Ablekuma West. We understand that there were incidents of people trying to move ballot papers where they shouldn't be, and that has created a Ferrari over there. Alfred.
Indeed, and this is one we're keeping an eye on as well, because we understand that even though the police has been called upon, there's been some security intervention. You saw them showing what they described as their fake ballot papers with the thumb-printed candidates on it. And Lawyer Martin People was talking about the vigilance of the people. That's a key underlying factor here, and the denominator in the analysis of the things that have been happening right now. Because all of these issues that we're seeing in the various constituency coalition centers and the polling stations have been identified as a result of the vigilance of the people. Because look at these fake ballot papers. If they had slipped through and the people were not vigilant about it, you would imagine how that would also impact on the outcome of the elections. So that's one thing that as well we need to also highlight going forward. And while we keep an eye on how things are playing out, especially in that Ablekuma West conference, because there's so much happening. There's so much happening there.
And look at what's happened in Ewutu Senya East as well.
True.
Nakoyo alleging that our Kumsins people have attacked and killed one of her people. She sounds, very, there's hysteria around her. And, I was asking earlier and hoping that she wouldn't go out there with her people as well to attempt to do something. Unfortunately, that call dropped before we could get a response to that. But somebody has died. And if that be the case, that will be the second death we are recorded in this election.
Well, so, the impact of this situation with respect to ballot papers, if 500,000 of them, according to the NDC, intercepted in the Ashanti region specifically. Now, if some go undetected, here's the danger. And when it gets into the process of coalition and it slips through, it compromises the outcome of the results. And that's why these reports of ballot papers being intercepted and then others that were identified as well is of serious concern, because if it had not been, then we would have instances where this matter is going to happen. But we're going to go back to the Ablekuma West constituency. We understand someone thumb-printed this one of these fake ballot papers, and the report said that the people then identified this ballot paper as a fake ballot paper, and this person who had thumb-printed those fake ballot papers was almost attacked by the vigilant resident and the vigilant persons who were at the coalition center. And that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. It took the timely intervention of the police to protect this person who was seen with these fake ballot papers, thumb-printed already. And that is what led to the scuffle that we saw and this understanding in the Ablekuma West constituency. So that's the incidents happening in the Ablekuma West constituency. And bear in mind, this is the same constituency that the Electoral Commission did not have an official vehicle, and so, so that's as a result of the vigilance of the people. That cannot be discounted now.
Indeed, and issues of, well, Alfred, I understand we're going somewhere.
Let's go to the Ayawaso Central constituency. We went there earlier, and some of the ballot boxes that were compromised because of all of this scuffle there. Godwin Nambo is there for us. Godwin, what's the latest in the Ayawaso Central constituency?
It's pretty crazy here. It's really crazy here. The police, we had the sound of things that we thought it was the police, but apparently it was the crowd. And we had two gunshots fired by an unknown person, but he gave a warning shot. He shot into the sky, and there's some purpose from the police. We're not sure whether the police or these are individuals, but it's really, the things are really, they are really crazy. But Johnson, it's uncontrollable. The police are unable to control the boys. The gunshot has scattered everybody. Yeah, it is impossible for the resolving officers to bring in the ballot boxes because the boys are making sure that before the ballot boxes are sent into the room, they make sure that they are accompanied by presiding officers. If they are not accompanied by presiding officers, they snatch the boxes, ticket, and so yes.
Depend on the results. So they have a much bigger stake in it. The police are basically the idea, general peace. So hardly would you find the police going out of their way to be checking who is going to rig. No, not usually.
Well, not who is going to rig, but who may be engaging in an illegality. And the padding of the votes is part of an illegality.
Yeah, but when it comes to, look, let me tell you, plain truth. Sometimes, okay, generally, some candidates even see the police to help them, to be honest. Yeah. Yes, if you know election, the two parties, they know it. I'm not talking about one party. Both parties know it. From 92, sometimes you have to see the police to help you to rig, okay? So it's just, let's say that this time the candidates have seen that basically they should get their own agents to be more vigilant. That's it. Yeah, they've been telling that.
The police is there to ensure the general security of the place. But I tell you that the people who feel that their life is dependent on the outcome are more vigilant. And so they are quick to unearth some of these unscrupulous practices, and then the police will just jump in to ensure that regardless of whatever may have been discovered, there is still safety and security there. And so that is never to say that the police is not doing its work, but I'm saying the stakes are high for some people than some of the officials and stakeholders, at the various, polling centers and collation centers. Yeah.
One thing I also noticed, and Lawyer Kwebu, I'm coming to you with that question, is that when the attempt illegality is discovered, it would appear that the police is there all right to deal with the situation and maintain order. But there is a sense of an overwhelm also. I mean, did you notice that as well? For instance, in the Ayawaso Central situation where Godwin, talked about the gunshot, he only referred to one police officer there. In times past, by now there will be reinforcement already. Remember the case of Ododo Diodio and even Klotekoli, when Zanetto's first election, we remember that there were immediate reinforcements in those areas. But we don't seem to be hearing of reinforcements this time.
That there are so many polling centers where the police and the security agencies have been spread. And so how many will be officials at a particular polling centers? Sometimes it's one, sometimes we just have two. And I want to believe
as well. So the coalition center is where we are right now, and the district office of the Electoral Commission. These are the two that we're keeping an eye on because, as we indicated to you, the pink sheets are being sent to the constituency coalition center, and we have the ballot box. go onto the magic wall right now, and the Owutu Senya East constituency gives us a trend analysis of how things are playing out. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us here on New Election Command Center. There's some information coming through right now, so don't flip your dial. Stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break.
Spreading information that will endanger someone else's life. So you must prove to the court that, oh, when I got this information, the first thing I did was to call the DCE for the area. I called up the DCE said A, B, C, D. Of course, you have proof to back that. I called the parliamentary candidate for the area, and he said A, B, C, D. And then I did further checking by speaking to the police, and I spoke to the Electoral Commission officials. They gave me all of these pieces of information that I'm putting out. But what we have now, look, I'm on a platform that even lawyers are on. Unverified claims are being put on the platform. I'm on a platform of journalists. Unverified claims are being put on the platform. And these are claims that can have damaging consequences for the Republic.
So we are all party to the chaos.
Exactly. So it is important. And let me read the concluding paragraphs of the provision. A person is taken to know that a communication is false or misleading if that person did not take reasonable steps to find out whether the communication was false, misleading, reckless, or fraudulent. So false, misleading, reckless, or fraudulent. And then subsection 3 says, subsection 2 does not apply to the operator or provider of a network or service over which a communication is sent. So if you use MTN, for instance, to send a misleading information, it is assumed that you cannot go and hold MTN liable for facilitating the false communication you have put out. The burden is actually imposed on the person putting out the information to take reasonable steps to ensure that whatever he's putting out there does not trigger the provisions to come after him.
Thank you so much, Sky, for that education. Now, viewers, I just want to remind us that this is the Election Bureau. We promise to give you comprehensive coverage of the 2024 general election, and that includes giving you education as and when it is needed to control some of the things that are happening. So let me bring in Godfred, but before I do that, a reminder to follow us using the hashtags Ghana Post 2024, hashtag CityVerify. Verification is very important. So if you need any credible information, just type in the hashtag CityVerify on all the socials so you get the credible information, and then hashtag Election Bureau. Godfred.
Yeah, Ajua,
in the face of Larry, I'll come to you. I'll come to you.
No. So
but because I wanted to ask a critical question. In the face of emotions, right? People are very critical about election period, and this is where tempers rise and all of that. So in the face of all of these emotions, how do you now try to bring in the law, try to situate that properly for us?
So I was going to say that, listen, he and I, the City FM has a certain voice of mine where occasionally they play Nana Bodo.
Yes, Nana Bodo.
Listen, tomorrow morning you guys shouldn't play that.
We'll find it. DJ Abeku, you know what to do.
I'm writing it down.
Why?
It's on the breakfast show account. Don't worry at all.
We remind Abeku too.
DJ Abeku,
and you know what it was? There was an incident between myself and then one MP who he knows very well, where there was an incident in his house, and then I called this gentleman. Oh, he went into tantrums and then told me off. Listen, you can go and publish anything you want to publish. So indeed, the next morning, I did justice to the story. Now he turns around to say that, listen, I'm going to sue you. You get it? So then City called me, and then I explained that, listen, I called the gentleman over there. And then, the story came that a source from within spoke to me over this, and then that source is called Nana Bodo, And I mean, the story is this. I called him, and he refused to talk.
So that would have been reasonable steps.
You get it? You could even send them messages. They won't talk to you. They have media houses or institutions that they want to talk to.
Exactly.
If it's coming from City, they want to talk. If it's coming from somebody else, no. All because, I mean, you are supposed to belong to a certain grouping, and so you have, you've been tagged or, stereotyped. Okay? So that incidents where you would have to put the story out anyway because you believe in whatever it is that, the kind of information you have had. But people, so I mean, they don't want to talk, and in the process, you have to put some of this out. I mean, what's the punishment for the person who refuses to talk to you?
No, so you see, that's the point. You see, the law imposes a burden on the person publishing the information to take what is considered to be reasonable steps. So reasonability will come in. What would a reasonably competent journalist do in the circumstance? You received information. 2 people have died in a particular constituency because the constituency chairman of Party A shot a gun and then killed 2 people, right? You received that information. You saw it on social media, and then you did not take a reasonable step or reasonable steps to confirm it. Okay, have you spoken to the hospital that they were rushed to? Have you spoken to the police officers in the area? Have you spoken to the family of the victims? If you have not done these things, as we are seeing on social media, people just forward, without actually taking the trouble to understand the circumstances surrounding it. Some people are just sitting at home and manufacturing all kinds of claims about things they know next to nothing about. And yet they want you to believe it. And if you pass it on without verifying that, you are putting yourself in.
And you know, DJ banned her. They did a blackout on her.
I remember that.
Was she not the woman who performed abysmally during a vetting that all the MPs said that they were not going to vote for her?
But the reason
we don't know what happened behind the scenes.
Hang on, gentlemen, hang on.
What is this?
The reason for your temper right now, when it comes to Hawa Kumsin, is because of what we have heard. A life has been lost, allegedly caused by people from her camp. So
Experience cool comfort with Cool Binaton fans, now with air freshness and mosquito repellent features. Aerodynamic designs for superior airflow. Wide range with 2 years warranty, with over 60 years of excellence. Binaton, simply better.
And are these people we need? Don't we have the manpower resources to help us develop? You see, winner takes all politics, being perpetrated by somebody like Akufo-Addo, would always lead to dissipation of human resources.
I see.
They are better qualified people who are supposed to be ministers.
From Ewutu Senya East, I want us to talk about Ayawaso Central.
Don't be doing this. If it is wrong, it is wrong. Not because she's a woman and you are a woman.
But I am also
wrong. It is wrong.
No, gentlemen, hold on. We have to put the conversation in context, and that is what I provided. For the benefit of our viewers and for the benefit of the woman in question, because we don't know whether or not she and her people caused this. We have only been told by a first-hand witness of the situation.
What I said earlier, I'm saying that historically, okay, around
let's not go back. We have said it already.
Violence and intemperateness.
And that is a matter of
Machete Weldon being blacked out.
We have talked about that. We won't go back. We won't go back. Let's talk about Ayawaso Central.
What at all did Akufo-Addo see in her?
I can't answer that for the president, and the president is not on the coverage tonight. So let's move on.
He's always every topic concerns him. Please don't make that mistake.
The president is not on the coverage tonight. So we'll move away from that. Let's move away from that, gentlemen. Okay, let's move. Let's agree to disagree on that and move away from that. Let's talk about Ayawaso Central and what we have heard from that area as well. That was the area where the incumbent Henry Quartey is at the moment. We understand from Godwin Nambo, who is a correspondent on the ground, about the attempt to pad the votes over there. We were told that the thumbprint really were thumbprinted for the incumbent, Henry Quartey. Well, you are smiling too much. I'll take that to Lawyer Kwebu.
They are thumbprinted for one person.
For him.
That is what our reporter tells us.
Yeah. Yes, it's not surprising. You know, in the last election, there were allegations of the same rigging in that constituency. Yeah, I've seen people firsthand who were part of this providing security, etc., who said that election was rigged. So when this time they raised, I said, the same thing, right? Round two. Thank God that this time it's been found out.
The vigilance of the people.
Yeah, the vigilance of the Ghanaians. That's something we'll be celebrating. Kemini, before, I don't know when next we'll come back to it, but let's look at this. I was looking at some literature, but the question, I didn't get to finish answering it when talking about the voter turnout. There's been a paper that's been done, and it shows that the second term of every president, like we have now, okay, usually the voter turnout is less. So let's go to 96. You would see that it came down. Then Kufuor second term, it came down. So you would find that in 2016, which was the one at the end of NDC's 8 years, when Mahama was exiting, it was 69. The same way, if you trace it from Rawlings, okay? So that's a pattern that's always been there, that at the end of every 8-year cycle, let's call it so, we've been changing the parties
but this particular one is going to be unprecedented, and I'm sure that the statistics that will be churned out to us by the Electoral Commission would show. I don't disagree with what you have said, but I think that this particular one, it will
even be, the turnout will be lower.
But the bit about the effort to rig, it tells you that so over the years, some of our political elites have gotten elected through the manipulation of our electoral processes and then activation of several rigging machinery, and that's the reason why. They are also unable to offer proper services, to the people. And if you rigged and you got, if people really gave you the mandate to serve them, you become more accountable to them. because, you know, they gave you the mandate. But if you had to pay bribe, if you had to rake your way through the processes, then it undermines your commitment to want to offer quality service to them. And that's how come all these guys are doing that. They drive in V8s and they don't go to their constituencies. Their constituencies are so dilapidated. People are suffering. I drove to a funeral in Wahoy, okay? And then at a point in time, I had to keep asking that, do they have a member of parliament here? And do they have leaders here? Do the tentacles of modern day governance system, do they extend to these places? And all that, the bad roads and all that.
Sometimes deliberate. A ruling government, Akufo-Addo said it. When he sees your opposition, he won't give you development. You remember the central region?
Oh, that's not what he said.
So, now he's blaming the MPs, and I'm saying Hohoy and all those people. So generally, voter is what? NDC.
Oh, but
so,
the MP, John Peter Amewu is MP.
I said generally, and then I'm reinforcing the fact that even Akufo-Addo said it, or Tunanuntu. He told the chiefs, Ekumfi area, that he denied them development because what? They didn't vote for an MPP candidate. The chief of Aplao, the same thing. He said they don't get votes, so
the Jubilee House came out to clarify that.
No, we don't need any clarification.
They came to clarify that matter.
Let me move away from Akufo-Addo's political talk. Let me move away.
So they send more resources to their strongholds. That's the point I'm making.
But then if that's the case, then the people of Ashanti region will not complain as much as they have to.
So the point I'm making,
let me answer that for you. Generally, don't forget, hey, when you see that JM developed Ashanti, you think it was for free. No, that 25-30% they're always looking, it's critical. If you didn't do those projects, they would have had less. So if you see JM doing more in Kumasi, it's not because he just loves
I have to go now. Speaking of the,
finished making my point.
We will come back and you make the point, because I want us to look at why we are only hearing issues from the Greater Accra region for now. But Alfred, you're taking us elsewhere.
Let's go to the MPP right now, because they are addressing the press conference as we speak.
Over the past close to 24 hours, all we are asking for is that we protect the sanctity and sanity of our electoral processes and our democracy. I don't think we're asking for too much. We're basically asking for what every single Ghanaian is clamoring for. But as usual, we have our friends from the NDC, their usual playbook. 4 years is here again, and we are going through what we always go through every cycle. Our electoral process is one of the most transparent electoral processes you can have in the world, and we don't have to do too much to ensure that we get what it is that we are looking for. And to see the NDC jittery, extremely jittery. I mean, just a few minutes ago we all watched a very unnecessary, very unnecessary and disgraceful press conference from the NDC, and you can see the demeanor, the high level of uncertainty, you know, from them. They are completely unsettled, and it's simply because, like I always said, one, they were overly complacent. Two, they took the good people of this country for granted, and they assumed that once it is 8 years, they are coming to power. Reality is settling in, and instead of doing a self-check and a reality check and improve upon themselves, they want to inflict upon the entire country the damage that they themselves have brought upon themselves, and they want us to all live in it together. That is what we are not going to allow. And we want to thank every single Ghanaian, every single citizen of this country, both those within and without, those living abroad, for with all the institutions and bringing us this far. We encourage everybody to remain calm but extremely vigilant. Trust us. Believe us. This election is going to go to a very sensible conclusion. Nothing else. Trust the MPP on that. It is going to go through a very successful conclusion, and a very sensible one as that. As usual, the NDC is doing what they know how to do best, behaving in the most irresponsible and disgraceful manner that you can expect from a political party. They are calling on their supported at this hour. Elections are over. Your supporters were supposed to mobilize the people and get them to their votes, their polling stations, and cast their votes. That is what political parties do. Simple process. Campaign, encourage your supporters to canvass for you, get the voters to go to the polling station, cast their votes for you. Everybody in the full glare of the public, the counting is done at the polling station. You have agents. All the other political parties have agents. You finish, you sign at the polling station that you accept the results at your polling station. When that is done, simple process. Move your pink sheet from the polling station and take it to the constituency coalition center, where you have your agents there with the Electoral Commission. And what is going to happen there is simple. The sheets, the pink sheet that your agent signed at the polling station is being brought to the constituency coalition center, and that is where those figures are going to be put together and summed up. When that is done, the constituency would now pick the constituency sheets from the constituency coalition center and take it to the regional coalition center. At the regional coalition center, let's use the Eastern region as an example. 33 constituencies. All they are going to do at the regional coalition center is to pick the 33 constituency coalition sheets, which you have a copy, and sum it, and then move it from there and bring it to the center, which is the Electoral Commission here in Accra, and they put together 16 coalition results, and we have our elections called. And so it's baffling, extremely baffling, to have the NDC behave the manner in which they are behaving. They continue to also peddle some falsehood. Somewhere around 4:30 p.m. thereabouts, the NDC held a press conference, and they are saying that the NDC organizer in the Ashanti region has discovered 500,000 ballot papers, which they claim are ballot papers that they have discovered being hidden by the MPP. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a complete falsehood. It's a complete lie. It's a falsehood. All we saw in that video is Joseph Yamin, the organizer of the NDC in the Ashanti region, holding his own phone, having a camera placed on him by his own people in a certain room with no resistance. No owner of the room, no owner of the house, not a single person they met in the room accustomed, standing and having a conversation, cheerfully telling somebody that I've discovered ballot papers. Our checks indicate that, first of all, the room they claim they discovered those ballot papers are not even at the location they indicated. Number two, these are actually ballot papers that Yamin himself took to the Ashanti region for whatever reason. Remember, they had already given some of these ballot papers to the youth organizer of the Atwima Kwama constituency. The police had already issued a statement on that. We showed a video earlier on, and maybe before I conclude, I'll show that video, where the son of the constituency youth organizer of the Atwima Kwama constituency was arrested by the Ghana police. For attempting to stuff a ballot box with 79 ballot papers. These ballot papers were part of the ballot papers that you saw Joseph Yamin standing by. What had actually happened was that Joseph Yamin realized that he had 30 minutes for elections to end, and he had not been successful to execute that task that had been given to him by his party. And so to save his face, he all of a sudden goes on video using a selfie and telling the whole country that he's found some ballot papers that belongs to the MPP. That's an outright lie. It's a complete falsehood, and it's something that everybody should disregard. We are calling on the Ghana some 300,000 ballot papers. Then Joseph Yamin says 500,000. Then another NDC person says 400,000. So it tells you the kind of people they are and what it is that they are doing. Again, we do not see any MPP official in the video. So think about this. Joseph Yamin, for some reason, has magic. Identifies a building that has ballot papers. Goes into that house and there is nobody in the house. Joseph Yamin walks into that house seamlessly. The Joseph Yamin we know has a suspicion that there is a ballot paper hidden in the house, would start recording himself from the road before even getting to the gates, before walking into the room. Strangely, Joseph Yamin switches off his phone or his video, breaks into whichever house, opens whichever door, gets into a room, and then only begins to record himself inside a room. These guys really take the entire country completely as fools, because it doesn't just add up. The same Joseph Yamin gets into the room before inviting media. This Joseph Yamin we know, having picked intelligence that there is some ballot papers hidden somewhere by the MPP, will call the media, call police, and walk in there with them before he even puts a video on himself. He doesn't do any of these things. Again, we only see him in the corner with a video on himself. Now, you've discovered some 500,000 ballot papers in an MPP stronghold. And then the only evidence you show us is a selfie of yourself in a room, having a conversation with somebody excitedly, telling the person that you've discovered some ballot papers, and then telling us that you are now calling police to come and do whatever it is that you're expecting them to do. We all know the reasons why the NDC are behaving this way. Everybody in this country knows that this is not the first time we are going through this. Unfortunately, as a people, we have to deal with being inflicted with this every single election period. The NDC are clearly losing these elections, and they know it. As we speak, the elections have already been counted at the polling stations. Every political party has copies of the pink sheet. They know it. They know very well they are losing these elections, and that is why they would call for havoc. We are winning these elections as a party. Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is winning these elections, and that's why we are saying that let's protect it. If we are winning, why would we want the electoral processes to be disrupted when we are winning? And so, I'm sure a lot of you recall the story in the Bible. I think it's a Solomon story. The story of the two rival women, where they went to sleep, woke up in the morning, and one of the babies are dead. Now the king calls these two women fighting over the living child. And he says, why are you fighting? He said, this is my child, this is my child. Then the king says, okay, no problem, bring me a sword. This is the living one. Cut the living child into two so that you can all have a half of it. Now, you remember, the woman who knew very well that the dead child is her said, yes, kill the baby. Kill the baby. Now, the woman who knew that this child is my child, and because he's my child, I don't want the baby dead, said that, my king, if you would please her, give her the child. All this woman sought to do was to make sure that her child does not die. But the other lady that knew that she was guilty, knew that she had already lost her child, was willing for both of them to lose their children. That's exactly what the NDC are doing. They know they've lost. They know they are nowhere near victory in these elections. And that is why they would irresponsibly call on their supporters to move towards the coalition centers to disrupt the coalition centers. Already, we have heard of incidences in some of the constituencies. We saw some on TV, where some NDC persons were somewhere in Dansoman, breaking through the coalition center and basically attacking security services. What is this? At the coalition centers, you have your agents. Why do you want to go and destroy ballot papers and disrupt the electoral process if indeed you are confident that you have won these elections? Why? Why would any political party that is willing and ready to lead this country, why would any political party that is very, very clear in his mind that he has won this election want to disrupt these electoral processes? We will not allow that. Just as we've told you from the get-go, throughout the process, we have blocked each of the ill intent of the NDC. Every strategy they brought into this election has failed. And we are going to continue to ensure that they fail at it. And this one is also going to fail. At this juncture, we are waking every single MPP supporter up. Wake up. Call your families, call your brothers, call your sisters, go to the collation centers, protect the EC, help the police protect our electoral system. Our democracy needs to be protected. And it will take the citizens to protect our democracy against this dangerous political party, the NDC. Go there, stand there, touch nobody, but make sure that nobody touches any electoral material. Make sure that nobody touches any security officer, and make sure that nobody touches any electoral officer. If anybody comes to the collation center and attempts to touch anybody at the collation center, you have our permission to touch that person because you are protecting democracy. That you have our blessing. And we stand by you for doing the right thing because that will be a patriotic action. As it stands now, our call on you is to collaborate and cooperate with these officers, electoral officers and security officers, and ensure that we protect the ballot that the Ghanaian citizen has cast, stood in the sun, some of them being beaten by rain and cast their votes. We are clearly wondering what it is that the NDC and their leader is seeking to achieve by these unnecessary and reckless comments that they are making. Not a single constituency as we speak has even lifted the hands of any parliamentary candidate in their constituency, ladies and gentlemen. It is a process. As we speak, it is just 9:54. Every constituency you go to, they are tabulating their results. They are collating the pink sheets from the polling station. When they are done, that is when they will lift their hands of the parliamentary candidate that has won, and the electoral officer there will now declare that parliamentary candidate the winner. It is then and only then that any responsible political party would come on air and declare and indicate that they have won. We have our results. We know all the seats we've won already, but we are responsible. We are responsible. And we believe that to protect the sanctity of our electoral process and democracy, we should hold on to our numbers and our results until the Electoral Commission declares at the constituency level. Then we will declare. Throughout the process, from now till tomorrow, any moment that the Electoral Commission lifts the hands of any parliamentary candidates, that is from the MPP, we'll call you and we will declare to you. That is what responsible political parties do. This election is going to be won with intelligence and not muscles. No matter how strong you are, no matter how much muscles you are, trust us. We are beating you with intelligence. And we are going to do it like we've always done it in previous elections. And like I always say, just as it is in the DNA of the NDC, whilst we are thinking and processing and using the due process, they are pumping, like they say it.
What's up, monsters? Let's go. Got the drip, yeah.
That they are on top of issues. And so if you get out there and misbehave to disrupt the peace of this country, you are going to find yourself wanting and you will be dealt with all alone. I leave all of us with 1 Kings 3:16. 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 16. When you read 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 16 and you understand that parable of the two women, you understand clearly what is happening with the NDC. It is nobody's fault that you are not seen as a credible alternative. Please, let us live in peace.
To also get some updates, because what we've seen in the previous press conferences is that the EC is relying on the media to bring their attention to some of the issues. And then they go into give us an update.
MPP, number 5, because the other, yes.
And
what I make there's a problem, fundamental problem. Parliamentary, no. Other independent, other parties now want for Bianco. The
MPP had assigned their thugs, positioned them somewhere around Sepase. And if you know that constituency very well, polls had ended in Ebuakwa, and ballot papers were being moved to Nkawie, the capital of the district, for coalition at the constituency coalition center. On their way from Ebuakwa to Nkawie, when they go to Sepase, some thugs of the MPP pounced on that vehicle. They were already holding 2 ballot boxes full of ballot papers, attempting to swap 2 ballot boxes with the ballot boxes that they were holding. Thanks to the resistance that our supporters, agents, observers mounted, and supported by the Ghana police, were able to overpower them, and they were arrested. And as I speak to you, they are in police custody, and I want to show you videos of what happened. And the media, you can check with your correspondents in the Ashanti region, these shameless, desperate people who think that this and will stop at nothing to hold on to power, even when they know the people of Ghana have rejected them. This is what they are up to again. They did it to do everything and anything to hold on to power, including killing, including stealing. This is what we are talking about. They make frivolous allegations without any proof. We are giving you proof. So the new evangelist, the MPP has now got an evangelist, Dennis Miracles Abuaje. We want him to hold a press conference on this and tell us whether this is true or not. Now, let's move from Atrimangwa-Bieja South and come to the central region, Awutu Senya East constituency, where we've recorded another murder of an innocent citizen who happens to be a supporter of the National Democratic Congress. Clearly, Awutu Senya East constituency is green. The tyrant Hawa Kumsin is a goner. And seeing that power has obviously left her, she cannot come to terms with the reality and has resorted to violence, as she is known for. She's the same person who went to a police station and actually pulled a gun and shot at innocent civilians. And today, his thugs who were brought in from the Boku area, we know them, we have intel on all of them, were directed by Hawa Kumsin to fire at an innocent, unarmed supporter of the NDC. Today, our former constituency secretary for Ayawaso, Awutu Senya East constituency, Tuareg is no longer with the living. He's no longer with us. Why? Because thugs of this same woman, Hawa Kumsin, beat him to pulp. And he never recovered, never got better until he died very painfully, leaving behind many children. So for how long will Hawa Kumsin continue to do this? As I speak to you, one supporter of the NDC has been murdered. He's dead. The other is in critical condition at the hospital. But that is not to say that we have lost focus. It is a very sad moment for us, a very difficult moment for us. But until Honorable Now Koyo is declared as a member of parliament elect for that constituency, we shall rest not in that constituency. And the information we have is that the coalition currently ongoing at the coalition center at ASEC is almost coming to an end. And we want to call on all our supporters, all our agents to remain extra vigilant until the process is concluded, the duly elected member of parliament for the constituency is declared by the EC. The resource form duly signed by agents, our agents get his or her copy. It is posted on the wall, and then you can go and jubilate. But until then, let's remain vigilant. So that is what they have done there. And when we have the opportunity to address you again, we will show you pictures and videos of that. But I'm sure by now your correspondents in the area have already spoken to you about this sad development. But you know, nobody goes scot-free after shedding innocent blood. The NPP doesn't understand what is happening to them today. But one of the reasons why they are losing this miserably, like their own prophet told them they will lose spot all, is because of the 8 innocent Ghanaians they murdered in 2020. The blood of those innocent Ghanaians will forever be on their head. And so will be the blood of these 2 innocent Ghanaians who have been murdered today. One in Nyankpala in the Tolong constituency. An innocent civilian who was sitting somewhere only for these NPP thugs under the instruction of their parliamentary candidate Habib to open fire on him. And if you can show that, that is the injured person, show us the picture of the one who they murdered in cold blood under a bench because they were seated down. They didn't have any weapon. They killed them just like that because they had gone to the UDS campus at Nyankpala to influence and induce students to vote for Habib. Our supporters protested. It led to some heated exchanges and fisticuffs. The NPP thugs left the scene with Habib and came back there with their AK-47s and all that. They began to shoot indiscriminately to intimidate the crowd. The crowd dispersed. And on their way out, they met these NDC supporters sitting somewhere under an NDC shed. And they just opened fire on them and killed one at the spot. And here let me commend the Ghana Police Service led by IGP Dampare. IGP, so far so good. It's not been smooth. We've not been happy with how some military men have been deployed and how some of them are behaving. But I think that so far, the Election Security Task Force under your leadership has done its best to maintain law and order in consonance with the laws governing this process. And we entreat you to continue to do so in accordance with the Constitution that you have sworn to uphold. And I'm commending him because we understand that 4 of the criminals who committed this dastardly act have been arrested by the police. But the main culprit, who is Habib, must be arrested. And if he's not arrested today, on the 8th of January, he will be arrested. Just like our books. Mark that on the wall. Then, in Greater Accra, we are having serious challenges in 4 constituencies. One is Ayawaso Central, where the Interior Minister, what's his name? Henry Quartey is Member of Parliament and the outgoing Member of Parliament for the area. We are having similar issue at Tema Central, Ablekuma West, especially where Aslawusu is the Member of Parliament, and Ablekuma North. And the common feature of all these challenges we are having at these coalition centers is that the police, or let me not even say the police, these thugs of the NPP, because some of them may be wearing police uniforms or military uniforms, but you can't even tell today in Akufo-Addo's Ghana whether these people are truly soldiers. You can't really tell. That is how depraved the leadership of this country has become and how bastardized our state institutions have been, reduced to. And so these thugs don't want to allow members of the public to at least observe. Because at Ablekuma West, thugs of the NPP tried to engage in ballot box swapping. They threw into the coalition center 2 ballot boxes. And people saw it because they were there. And they were there because we called on them to be there. Had they not been there, the story could have been a different one. So they were there and then protested and resisted that ballot box swapping attempt by the NPP. Immediately that happened, Aslawusu called her soldiers. And they came there in a truck. Soldiers armed to the teeth surrounding the coalition center. Well, our Deputy General Secretary is on the ground, and I'm told that the soldiers have now backed off. But that is a challenge we are encountering there. Same as Ablikuma North, same as Tema Central. And we are telling our people, stand your ground. Stand your ground. Be peaceful, be responsible, be orderly, but stand your ground. You have nothing to fear because we are on the side of the law. We are on the side of the law. And they cannot kill all of us in Ghana. They can't. Now, to conclude, there is also the issue of a Buakwa North in the eastern region, where, again, at the collation center, the police has fired tear gas, they are spraying pepper spray just to make sure that our people are not there to observe the process. And we want to call on the IGP to address these issues that we are encountering in some of these polling stations. The entire electoral process is a public exercise from the police station level to the constituency level to the regional level to the national level. Accredited agents are the ones who are allowed to be in the collation rooms. We all know that. But the public, the general public, is allowed to be around to observe what is happening. What is happening is not an election of a secret society. It's an election of a democratic country. People have cast their votes. What do you have to hide? And some people will say, oh, but your agents are there, allow them. 2 agents and a few observers. What about if they bandit them somewhere? Like they did at Echiman South. They attack them. They hound them out. Who will be there to defend them? And you want us, a serious political party, ready for power and in fact coming into power, to listen to your advice and tell our supporters to sleep at home and allow only 2 agents to be there observing the collation. You think we are zombies and I worry and Ngosro. It will not happen today, it will not happen tomorrow. We will police this exercise to the very end. And we call on our supporters to do exactly that. Now, finally, I'll end with a joke. I heard the new evangelist the MPP has now discovered, their communications director, who is now quoting a lot of Bible quotations, saying that they have won the election. Well, I'm not here to counter that. I'm not here to say that we have won. As for who has won, by now, every Ghanaian knows. They themselves, they know. And I want to show you one person who knows, because as the evangelist was preaching and saying they have won, his brother, the communications director of the MPP, was by his side. And from the look on his face, can we see that picture? I want to show you the face of a man who says he has won an election. Look, this is Richard Ahiadba, MPP communications director. So if the MPP has truly won an election, you think this is how Richard Ahiadba will be looking? This will be his countenance and his facial expression. And I'm sure you saw Fatima too. Yes. So these are the people who claim they have won an election. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your patience. We thank you for your collaboration. We appreciate your presence here with us. And we want to encourage you to stick with us until we bring this process to an end.
This is your election command center. That's the NDC National Communications Officer Sami Jemfi there, addressing the media on a number of the incidents that we've been talking about here on your election command center, Ewaso Central, Tema Central, Ablikuma North, Ablikuma West, and then also what happened in Nyankpala UDS, specifically in the Tolong constituency. He has also mentioned a constituency in the eastern region, Buakwa North. We're keeping an eye on that one as well here on your election command center. All of these issues, stay with us. We'll bring you up-to-the-minute update every step of the way here on your election command center. We're keeping tabs on the over 40,600 polling stations right now and all the constituency, that's 276 constituency coalition centers. We have eyes on there. We've been talking to some prominent people, not only in Ghana, but across the continent as well. Kemeni.
Alfred, today we've been around bringing in some of those interviews. We talked to the former president of Nigeria, His Excellency Goodluck Jonathan. He's also the chairperson of the West African Elders Forum. Obviously, let's put that conversation into context. It was before all of these things began. It was before the end of voting day today, and so it did not capture the incidents that have taken place in the last few hours of the night. But essentially, President Goodluck Jonathan has spoken about how pleased they were with the process, but more importantly, the need to keep cool heads, not only for this country, but for the sub-region. Let's take a listen.
Frankly speaking, we're quite pleased with what is happening. We're here in Accra for pre-election assessment. We're here on the 7th and 8th of October, and we interacted with the candidates of the two major parties. We interacted with politicians, interacted with the security, with the Electoral Commission, with civil society people, and so on. And some issues were raised by especially the candidates, made reference to the previous elections, security issues, election management issues, and we took up all those issues with the respective departments of government, the security led by the Inspector General of Police, the Electoral Commission led by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, and so on. And they explained to us what have been done so far, and even by the time they were complaining to us, some of those issues have been handled, but they were not too aware. Now we came here for some days before election, so we've also been interacting with the people. Today we've been out, we're meeting with other observer missions in the field, and we've been exchanging views. And so far, there are no incidences that we feel will be detrimental to the election. Even somebody did analysis comparing these elections and the last elections, the clear incidents of deaths and even arsons and so on. And this year there's significant improvement. And I believe at the end of the day, the elections will be okay. Well, we cannot conclude yet, because the critical part of election, from our own observation, is not during the voting. In a number of countries, during the voting, yes, you may have some ugly situations, but most countries, we have problems during the collation of results, when they will add the results and move from the voting units to the regions and escalate to the national. That's where stories and all kinds of accusations, some real, some imaginary, used to come up. And we hope that this segment of the election will be properly managed, because this time around, the INEC, the Electoral Commission officials, the technical person took us through the process of collating the results. We are pleased on paper what they intend to do. We only hope that practically they should follow the paperwork. And if they follow the paperwork, then we believe there will be no situations that would disrupt the elections. We wish Ghanaian well. We are using this opportunity to also plead with the people to come out and vote. So far, we've not gotten more than, in Accra here, from the places we have visited, we've not gotten more than 50% yet. We believe before 5 p.m., when the votes will close, we'll get a reasonable percentage of voters. So we still have time. We want the people to turn out and vote. We don't want people to just complain the government is not doing this, government should have done this. This is time you should vote the person you believe can rule this country well.
And we know that when you came into the country, you...
That exclusive interview you had with Excellency Goodluck Jonathan, former president of Nigeria there. But it's not the only former president we've been speaking to. The former president, in fact, the immediate past president of the People's Republic of Botswana also spoke to us, Mokgweetsi Masisi. In fact, he was president until a few months ago. He was a vice president between 2014 and 2018 in Botswana. In 2018 through to 2024, he's been the president of Botswana. We'll hear from him shortly. But let's get into the numbers game, because as we have always said, that it's all about the numbers. And that's why we keep talking to you about the polling station numbers and what is going to be happening at the constituency level as well, then the regional coalition center before the national coalition center as well. Let's get into it, Martin. There are some constituencies that we've been looking at for good reason, and it's all about the numbers. Because in 2020, those constituencies had slim margins that is of notice. And let's start off with the Senate West constituency, shall we?
Yep, Senate West, and clearly you indicated that politics is a game of numbers.
Sure.
That's a global cliche. Now let's look at the numbers of Senate West. What we are talking about is that because constituency results have started coming in, we want to look at the constituencies from previous elections that the MPs that won with the slimmest of margins. And since time immemorial, since Ghana started this Fourth Republic, this is the closest we have seen in terms of Ghana's politics. So the Senate West constituency in the Bono East region had 16 votes separating Kwame Chumesi Ampofo of the NDC and Joseph Kuma of the NPP. The NDC candidate got 13,116 and the NPP candidate got 13,100. Just 16 votes. So it tells you that because of the parliamentary system we run, where if you win by just one vote, it's first past the post system. Yeah. If even he had won by one, he's still the MP. True. Especially the challenge we've seen over time, Alfred, is that anytime the margins are this close, the candidates call for recount. Yeah. So there could be multiple recounts. As of now, we don't know whether there's a law that says that after maybe 2 recounts, there shouldn't be any more. But if you feel aggrieved or you think the numbers have not gone, you can definitely call for a recount, especially in the presence of everybody. So it just goes to buttress Sammy Jemfi's point that you need to be vigilant. True. Make sure that the counting is done in your presence and don't start jubilating until the declaration is done.
As they always say.
And it's really close, considering the fact also that these two gentlemen are going, in fact, contested for the 2024 elections. So we'll see what the new results for the 2024 elections are. But it clearly is obvious that the Senate West constituency is a very, very close race based on the fact that these two gentlemen are still contesting, and we'll start seeing what the results are. But that constituency has predominantly been an NDC safe constituency. And this is how the presidential, voting pattern has looked like since '96. The NDC has won almost all the time when it comes to presidential votes in the constituency, and the parliamentary has also been the same. And we actually have singled out this constituency because of the closeness of the parliamentary results. Eventually, we'll see what the 2024 results look like and what the presidential result difference also looks like for the Senate West constituency in the Bono East region.
And set there, my colleague at the Electoral Commission's National Coalition Center, giving us some information. We're going to cross over to him shortly. But we also have a satellite studio in Jamestown, specifically the Ododo constituency. So we'll hear from our correspondents there in Jamestown. We understand a number of people have gathered around the Coalition Center observing the process in Jamestown. Jamestown is one of the central points in the Ododo constituency. Mawana, what's happening at the National Coalition Center?
For which reason, from there, the regions will come here for photocopies to be done, handed out to all the 12 presidential candidate agents who are present here. Quite a number of them have already made their way here in terms of anticipation of results beginning to trickle in. But yes, and so in your shots right now, like I mentioned, these are fax machines at the National Coalition Center, where we're expecting that the presidential election results from the regions will be coming through. Just behind me is the sitting area where the respective agent of the political parties will be coming through in their numbers. A number of them have come through already. The agents of Kofi Kranti, who himself is here, who will try, as we continue to be here to monitor the process, to get a few words from him for you as well here on your election command center. But if I could just run viewers and listeners both through just a brief of really what the process is expected to be. And so At this particular point in time, as Alfred and the rest of the team, Kemeni and then Martin, have been walking you at home who's watching through the processes of how results from polling stations are being moved to collation centers where collation is expected to be done. All of that work is expected to be concluded. At the collation center, there will be the declaration for the parliamentary election results at the constituency collation center. But on the presidential front, after the results are put together from the different polling stations, the returning officer for the constituency will be expected to then proceed to the national, or the regional, I should say, the regional offices of the Electoral Commission, where party agents are present. Photocopies of the respective constituency election results will be made available to them for verification, where they will have to sign on to, along with officials of the Electoral Commission. Then from the regional perspective, where the understanding is that all would have been said and done, and there will be general understanding as with regards the entire electoral process, then results will begin to be transmitted via a fax machine, because the Electoral Commission says, look, the fax machine is one thing they have set into such assurance in the fact that there cannot be hacking in that process in any way or form in terms of transmitting the election result. And so if we can just briefly show you again the respective fax machines which are here, they are regions embossed on every machine, 16 machines, but every region embossed. You see Western region, you see the Upper West region, you see the Upper East region, and then all of the Northeast region at the far end, the Ahafo region, the Greater Accra region, you name it. All of these regional election offices of the Electoral Commission will be expected to fax their regional election presidential results through for them to be received on their respective machines here. Now,
Eric Maiwanagbeta there, thank you very much. And that's a quick run through of what will be happening at the National Coalition Center, where all the constituency coalition officers will transfer their collated results to the Regional Coalition Center. The regional officers of the EC would now also transmit those results to the National Coalition Center. And at the constituency level, we'll see the declarations of who has become a member of parliament, elect. So stay with us here on the Election Command Center. We'll bring that to you every step of the way. And Kemeni?
Indeed. Listen, Alfred, let's bring in Professor Ernest Abochi. He's Dean of the UPSA Law School. Prof, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on our election night coverage. Prof, what's your analysis of how, the electoral process has played out so far?
Well, good evening, and good evening to your viewers. I have to confess that I'm actually not in town, and so I'm following things quite sketchily. It does seem that things are trickling in, but because we do not have any official confirmation of anything, and I normally do not like to speak to these because in their circumstances, they still are speculative. However, if you do reflect on the fact that there appears to be skirmishes by way of some sporadic incidences of violence, the political parties holding press conferences and goading their members to, as it were, remain vigilant and to play a vigilante role, and also giving the deployment of military officers, given the antecedent events of government actually closing borders, the usual suspects are at play. These are characteristic of Ghana's election, certainly in the last 20 years. And surprisingly, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because these are things that we have had from election. So in terms of the speculations and in terms of the unofficial results that appear to be trickling in, it does seem that there may have been some surprises in certain areas, But it does also seem that some areas we haven't seen much of surprises.
Right.
Again, for presidential results, it does seem that
From her opponent Central. Now, when the Ayawaso West Wagon electoral violence occurred and the commission was set up, you were secretary to that commission. I want you to juxtapose the outcome or the incident reports in this election, as I have added on to your list, to the recommendations that you made there in preventing electoral violence, and tell me what you come up with.
So first of all, you know, as a lawyer, I have to speak professionally. When a professional delivers work, it is no more his work. We were constitutionally mandated. We delivered on our assignment. It was presented to the president. A white paper was issued. It became a state report, so to speak. So I don't consider them our report, but I can speak to them as a citizen of Ghana, and I can speak to them to the extent that I had primary information about things. Look, one of the biggest regrets that I have as a citizen of Ghana is our failure to fully implement the report of the Ayawaso Commission. In my estimation, I thought the Ayawaso Commission and the way it was set up was one of the few, one of the few instances in which I thought Ghana got it right in terms of trying to, as it were, behave like a state, so to speak. But the outcome wasn't implemented the way I would have expected that it should have been implemented. And one of the key recommendations was the security realignment, particularly with a view to removing the political impression of the security architecture of Ghana. It doesn't seem that we learned a lot of lessons in that in terms of the security realignment and therefore the integration of security concerns in the electoral process. And so it does seem that in some ways we are seeing a replay of that. Now, the danger or the danger or the risk of not implementing a report like that to the hilt or the latter is that it tends to incentivize the perception that it can be repeated without consequences. And I dare say in some ways, it does seem that we are experiencing that. Clearly, we have been lucky. We haven't seen a widespread incidence of violence. But the fact that we still have pockets of violence, particularly involving gunshots, in a purely civil enterprise like elections, is one that invariably should remind all of us that, reports like the one produced by the Short Commission should have ultimately been implemented. And I will have to be honest, I have to concede the fact that aspects of the reports were implemented, but I think the generality, particularly of the security architecture of Ghana, that aspect I haven't seen, at least from a standpoint, that they haven't implemented the way I would have expected. For example, if you look at things from the standpoint of the fact that the Constitution was mindful, or the constitutional framers were mindful and aware of the fact that a politicized security environment tends to undermine...
Prof, I apologize, I have to cut you. We are talking about gunshots and we have just heard of some. Alfred, where are you taking us?
Let's go to Teshi, some part of Teshi specifically. This is the Lejokuku constituency. We're getting some information that some gunshots have been fired not too long ago. We're going to get to that constituency right now. The Lejokuku constituency is one of the many constituencies we've been watching in the Greater Accra region for good reason, because of the history and then also the swing nature of that constituency in the parliamentary election. And we have Dr. Bernard Okoboy and then also Bernard Ayiku, who is the incumbent, going head-to-head in that constituency. Emmanuel Samani is connecting with us right now at the Constituency Coalition Center, where we understand some gunshots were fired not too long ago. Samani, tell us the details of what happened that led to these gunshots being fired. Hello, Emmanuel, can you hear me? Emmanuel Samani is there for us here on your election command center. We'll connect with him shortly. But parts of Teshi, you see, parts of Tribuleo as well, and Agbliza, and then some areas as well that you see there at Tebibiano, and those places, and in fact parts of Chado as well, are part of this Lejokoko constituency. It's a place that we've been watching quite closely, and the people have not tolerated an MP for 2 successive terms, and Bernard Ayiku is seeking to break that. And then also Dr. Bernard Okobo, the health minister, is seeking a comeback after he lost that election, that constituency in the 2020 elections. Now, this is a 2-horse race in that constituency, and in fact, the stakes are really, really high in that Lejokoko constituency. Earlier, we had heard reports of some rains that also disrupted the process. But we're going to go right now quickly to Emmanuel Samani. We'll rectify that connection.
Indeed. Very well, very well. Alfred, we'll go back to Lejokoko constituency shortly, but perhaps I should get back to my conversation with, well, my understanding is we have also lost Professor Abochi over the Zoom. Well, Prof, if you're still there, how about you finish that point you were making, and then we'll look at other issues.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Well, so as speaking more broadly, as I indicated, one of the key recommendations of the Commission's report was an attempt to depoliticize the security architecture of Ghana. And if you look into the Constitution, for example, the head of security in Ghana is actually the National Security Coordinator, who is supposed to be a non-political technocratic person. And when you have a Ministry of National Security, and then you have a Ministry of Interior, these are quintessentially political because they report ultimately to the president, and not just that, but they are appointed by the president. This sits in cabinet. They are political actors, and all these do not inspire confidence. And it's part of the reason why opposition parties constantly complain. Whenever they're in government, they're happy with the process. Whenever they're out of government, they complain about the process. We need to rise above this and to take a broad view of things. And the Short Commission's report is still there. Whoever is president in 2025 will have to take the bold step of implementing the recommendations of the Short Commission in the best interest of the country for the long term.
Well, Prof, I'm going to come back to you, but let me come in studio now and speak with my in-studio guest, Lawyer Kwebu. I was asking earlier, this press conference and the things they say in these press conferences, do they further inflame passions?
Yes, to some extent, they do, especially if you look at those who are shouting. Look, you see how Sammy Gyamfi was very composed. Yeah, very, very composed. I like the tone, you see. So that is what Miracles Abuaje should copy. Miracles Abuaje was all agitated, fighting all over. But you see, winner Sammy Gyamfi, very calm and composed. Just like the way...
But does it matter? You didn't just call Sammy Gyamfi winner. Is that what you said?
Oh yes, but
no, we won't say that here right now.
Oh, you went. I'm not. I don't work for TV3.
But you're sitting on our platform. You're sitting on our platform. So we've got to go with the rules of room. Okay. Don't we? Yeah, right. So let's wait. Let's wait for the.
Abuaje looks agitated, fighting and shouting. Who are you shouting at this time? You see, that's where they lost it all throughout the campaign. Dennis never got it. Tone is very, very important. We're very angry. So when somebody is angry and you want to disarm him, you speak slowly and calmly. So the more he shouts, and then the more you are calm, then you are disarming him. Because he's shouting and then you are just calm. It disarms. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that for as long as Akufo-Addo's daughters got ambulance contract, for as long as every time we borrowed Ofuriata's company makes money and it goes to Kufuor's family, that Bawumia's family are getting sole sourcing. We are angry. He doesn't understand it. There is no amount of economic improvement that can take that away.
Does it matter whether or not the person is speaking calmly? Just the idea of addressing, the support base, accusing the other of, of mischief. It has the tendency to inflame whether or not you are very impassioned when you're talking or you're calm.
Oh, that one, yes. We are fast maturing as a democracy. So all I want to say is that we can't stop it. We can't. It didn't start today. 2012 elections, when John Mahama won, you can look for the tape. Sir John did a press conference, said they have won. Their people should go out and celebrate. Sir John. Disease. He did it. Fast forward 2016, NDC was losing. Yet Koku Anyudo, who was there, saying that they are in a comfortable lead. Just like today, you see Ahiagbo. Ahiagbo is what? Crestfallen. You can see defeat writ large over his face.
We don't
right?
know that for sure.
And yet they say they are winning.
We don't know that for
yes,
sure.
I know all that. So what I'm saying is that as for the press conferences, we can't stop them. What we'll rather be doing is strengthening our security apparatus, that if there are any incitements and people want to commit crime, then the security systems will quell those riots or crimes. But to say that no press conferences, no, it's not something we can write. The Constitution doesn't provide that, because you can't preempt. How would you know that a press conference would incite people to violence or not? You can't do that. So rather, you beef up security, that if there's any incitement, the police will be up to the task.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd want us to talk a bit more about guns, but let's try Lejo Koku again, Alfred.
Some breaking news that has been playing out swiftly over the last few minutes. And Emmanuel Samani is there for us at the Constituency Coalition Center in Lejo Koku. Emmanuel, tell us what led to these gunshots being fired.
But I can tell you that out of nowhere in comes some military personnel who were escorting some other polling stations, ballot papers into the collation center. And I don't know if I told you earlier, but the entire place was crowded. People were not allowed into the collation center, and a lot of the residents here anticipation literally cordoned the entire area. And so in comes the military, keeping across the entrance into the collation center, escorting that vehicle to bring in some more ballot papers. Next thing, a warning shot goes off. I don't know why, but it seems we were trying to calm the crowd. And so the pictures there you see behind me is still the residue of that interaction between the military and the residents here. So that's what it looks like. This is the aftermath. They literally keeping them away. It's a classic trap and away sound. And eventually, the men in uniform had to leave the premises because the crowds were agitated, so agitated, as to why one of the armed military personnel fired a warning shot. We don't know why, but I guess was trying to, restore some calm, but there's no need for that because there was relative calm here, just quite a number of individuals here. And so that's the thing here at the Lejo Koku Collation Center. People are still agitated, and that is in your shop. But that's good it. And so eventually the military personnel had to leave the scene, and the individuals are still clamoring about offering.
I say, Emmanuel, so the report is that this warning shots or the gunshots that we heard were shots from the military whom you spotted in the area?
Yes, absolutely. So like I indicated to you earlier, they escorted some more ballot boxes into the collation center. So upon arrival, there were some individuals who had, as you can see here, so let me just show you briefly. You realize that there are individuals all around the collation center. And so when coming in, there was no space. And so some of the guys jumped out of the vehicles wielding some canes and, just to make way for the vehicles to be able to come into the collation center. And so when they got here, literally where that vehicle is parked, off goes the gun. And you're wondering, why was the gun shot? Because there really was no need for the gun to go off. And then the people started chanting and, doing that classic away chants. And eventually, these armed military personnel had to leave the scenes because the crowd were getting, a bit charged up for them. And so that's what happened here. As to why this individual shot his weapon, I still don't see the reason why.
And Samani, let's look at the reaction of the crowd there, because there are quite a lot of people, as expected, at the Constituency Coalition Center. Tell me how they've been reacting to these gunshots that you indicate were fired by the military.
Right, absolutely. So as soon as it was kind of like to scare, like a scare tactic. However, it backfired into the face of this military man. And the individuals started chanting, and a lot more people started joining, kind of like saying that your guns are not going to scare us, do your worst, we can overpower you. And that's what it was giving. And so eventually, the other military personnel who were in the area started asking for calm, calling for calm, with that motion that everybody calm down, calm down, calm down. But the crowd were charged up, because they know that their numbers were way more than that of the military. And so they began chanting and singing, even going into some Jama songs here and there. And eventually, these armed personnel had to leave the scene to de-escalate the situation. And that's the remnants of what you're seeing in your screen right now. They're still talking about it. They're still, discussing amongst themselves what transpired just a few moments ago when a gun was shot by one of the military personnel. And so that's the state here at one of the most complex swing constituencies here in the country, where one MP has never retained the seat. It's a one-term touch and go. And so we're still here. The collation process is really yet to begin, because as you can see, there are some ballot boxes right there yet to come in, and so they're going in batches. And so that's the situation here at the Teshie Police Station, Alfred.
Thank you, Emmanuel Samani, there at the Lejokoko Coalition Center, the Lejokoko Constituency Coalition Center. And that's a place we're watching right now here on your Election Command Center. Now we've got clarity on what happened. The military, we understand, based on the report from Emmanuel Samani, on the ground, they were escorting some ballot boxes that were being transported from some of the polling stations in that constituency to the coalition center, the Constituency Coalition Center. And the crowd they were met with there, the military fired these warning shots to disperse the crowd there. But if you look at the constituency Lejokoko we're talking about, Benjamin Aiko Kemeni won that constituency with just a little over 5,800 votes, as against Dr. Bernardo Koboy, who was the incumbent MP in 2020, who pulled 54,000 and over. So it's just about 1,000 votes difference separating them. And these two are going head to head again in this constituency as well, with all of these skirmishes that we're seeing playing out in that constituency.
Indeed, and I hope that the police comes in or come in to do what they are supposed to do, in spite of the military intervention over there. And in Samani's report, I didn't quite clearly understand why it was the military instead of the police. Was it that the police demanded reinforcement from the military? Because remember, at the beginning of this, the Election Security Task Force had told us that if need be, the police will come in. So perhaps some clarity should come from the police, as they have been able to keep us posted with all their activities or on their socials and through their press conferences as well. But let me take the conversation to my... Oh, Alfred, you wanted to say something?
Right on, because we need to go to another constituency, the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency, another constituency we've been watching closely. Evelyn Tengma is my colleague at the Constituency Coalition Center, connecting with us right now at the University of Ghana, Legon. Evelyn, tell us what's happening where you are.
Yeah, so Alfred, we are, as you rightly said, we are at the coalition center here at the University of Ghana Business School, where the coalition is taking place. And then all of a sudden, the protest was ongoing, coalition was ongoing. And then all of a sudden, we had some noise from outside, and we were all wondering what was happening. And all of a sudden, a young man was pushed. Into the room, and then what we asked of the crime, and we are told that he has brought in some foreign ballot boxes where they don't know where these ballot boxes are coming from. And he says that the ballot boxes were from the Sabah Hall. And you know Sabah Hall, and according to the officials here, they have received all the ballot boxes from Sabah Hall. And so where are the ballot boxes coming from? And so they have to take the ballot boxes from him and destroy them outside. Then later he came back with 2 more ballot boxes saying that they are from the Volta Hall. And according to the issue officials, they have also received all ballot boxes from the Volta Hall. So where from these ones? And so there was a bit of confusion outside, so they had to bring him into the policing room, and then we are told that he's been arrested, and a former campaign will be lodged before the police.
And who brought these ballot boxes with already thumb-printed ballot papers in there? He said that they were from, the Mensa Sabah Hall, but already in the coalition center where you are, the Mensa Sabah Hall, those ballot boxes were there.
Exactly, Alfred. So all the halls, all the polling stations, ballot boxes are all here, and the policing is going on. So what he brought in, they were all thumb-printed staff ballot boxes, and that is what the issue officials and the other party agents here are questioning where he got them from, because they are all here. And where did he get them from? He earlier brought some that they destroyed all of them outside of the coalition center, and he went and brought some again. And so, I mean, they have all the boxes here. So where from all these boxes that he's talking about? Alfred.
I see. And so let's get an understanding. When he was pushed in there, who were the people who first identified him? Is it the NDC, that's John DeMello's persons who were there, or Lady Alasson's people? Let's understand this.
So after the way the whole thing went about, I cannot really tell who identified him, but I think they all know him. The party people, both NDC, NPP, they all know him. And I don't know if the officials of the EP also know him, but the party people in here, they all know him, because even there was a guy who was seated behind me. And when he saw the guy, he opened the louvers to see who was standing outside. And when he saw him, he immediately said, "That is my boy." And he ran outside. Yeah, he ran outside. So, but I can't tell which party he belongs to. So I don't know what exactly, but I'm sure the party people, they do know him.
Right. Evelyn, great job there. Thank you. And I know you're still at the constituency, the Ayawaso West Wuogon Constituency Coalition Center. And so keep monitoring whatever happens. We'll definitely bring it to our viewers and our listeners. So that's the information coming through from the Constituency Coalition Center in the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. A young man, we understand, who, according to Evelyn, is known by the people in the constituency, the party folks in the constituency, the leadership of both parties, because she's just indicated, Kemeni, that when he was pushed into the room, they identified him. And we've been showing videos of the commotion that ensued when he was pushed into the room. His crime, he had ballot boxes that were stuffed with already thumb-printed ballot papers. He was asked, where are these ballot papers, the ballot boxes coming from? He says, Mensa Sabah Hall. So they want to check at the Constituency Coalition Center, that venue where we just saw. Are the Mensa Sabah Hall ballot boxes already there? They confirmed that they were there. So where was this man bringing these ballot boxes? Then he changed the hall. And guess what? He went to the voter hall. The voter hall as well didn't accept him because you know what? The voter hall ballot boxes were already at the coalition center. So it raised the question, where is the origin of these ballot boxes with the ballot papers in there that this young man was holding?
In his possession. Indeed, Alfred, let me pick some thoughts from my guests. I'll go straight to Professor Ernest Abotey, who is over Zoom right now. Prof, quickly, just your final thoughts on what you have heard so far from the ground.
Well, again, I think the reports are disturbing. If elections will have to constantly be environments and spaces of insecurity, where bullets can fly and where the attempt at keeping the peace might result in people dying, especially when they are just trying to exercise their civic responsibility. That raises questions, and people will be worried about that. But it also raises another question. If citizen vigilante efforts will undermine and potentially endanger the ballots and, potentially undermine the whole declaratory process, the police can't stand aloof. They will have to exercise the security authority vested in them to maintain the peace. The military, and I've said this publicly, the military has no business around the electoral process in general. But the military may come in a residual fashion, and they will therefore only come in upon invitation from the police. In which case, we'll have to know, any time the military plays a role, we'll have to know whether there was an express invitation from the police. If the military comes into the process without an express invitation from the police, the action of the military is actually an attempt at overthrowing the Constitution. It has very serious implications, and I think sometimes we do it in a perfunctory, rather cavalier way. We treat it as, but it's a very dangerous thing when you have the military playing internal security role and responsibility without having been invited by the police. When that happens, they are competing with the police for purposes of maintaining the peace.
Right.
A responsibility which is not entrusted to them, a responsibility which is only given them by way of being expressly invited. Their responsibility is to maintain the territorial integrity of Ghana by ensuring that they police the borders, not police intent. I do have one time I hear the military play a role without us expressly being told that the police have actually invited them in this case for them to play the role. But it is important for all of us to also remember that we all have a responsibility to maintain the peace. And like I said, while we do have an interest in the electoral process, while we do have to ensure that we maintain a certain level of vigilance so that there are no malpractices, because Ghana has had too many incidents of electoral malpractices, it is a balancing act which has to be done very carefully so that we do not also invite a high-handed security intervention by way of the police being hard on any effort at undermining the peace and possibly going all the way to invite the military to come into the process to ensure that domestic peace and security is maintained and there is no compromise.
Professor Ernest Abotey, thank you so much for talking to us. Professor Ernest Abotey, who you just heard over Zoom, is Dean of the UPSA School of Law or Law School. But still here with me is Professor Ransford Jampo. He's a professor of political science at the University of Ghana. Next to him is legal practitioner Martin Kpebu. I'll take your thoughts on this one. The last two events we have had, the shootings in Teshi in the Lejokuku constituency, and then also in the Ayawaso West Wuogon area, particularly on Legon campus, where, the incident of another attempt to pad votes or include fake ballot papers in the exercise. Prof.
The creeping practice of wanting to smuggle and swap already thumb-printed ballot papers in ballot boxes is so low IQ and so unintelligent by those doing it. You see, so and you've done one, they've caught you. You can see the level of vigilance. If it's a party, those who are doing it, if they are intelligent people, if their parties are actually staffed by people who have higher IQ and people whose intelligence are high up there, they will stop. But they are still doing it. It tells you, these are the people who parade themselves as people who want to lead us. Look at them. Huh? Look at them. Low IQ, low intelligence strategy, wanting to swap already. It started, I'm told, Kwadaso. They started there and some other areas. Oh, and these are the people who want to lead us. You see, you did it once through vigilance, you were caught. It's been twice, you were caught, and you still want to do it. And I commend the security agencies that, look, without fear or favor, if you run afoul of the processes, I'm told the guy has been arrested.
Indeed.
Let every charge that is appropriate be preferred against him, and let such low IQ people who were sent by people whose intelligence is low, okay, let all of them face the full rigors of the law. Because I don't understand why we are doing this to ourselves. So meaning all the campaign that people did, they knew they were not going to win. They knew they were going to flop like this. And so plan B is to design their own ballot boxes and then design their own ballot papers and thumbprint all of them and then hide them somewhere so that they will attempt to be swapping. Are we all foolish? Or they think that they are more sensible than the rest of Ghanaians?
That's what they meant by they will win with a trick. You remember?
I don't remember that.
No, they said that they will win with a trick.
Hold on, I don't remember that.
Japan once said 2020.
Don't talk about Kenya Japan.
Hang on. Gentlemen, hang on.
You see, Kenya Japan said that 2020 elections, you know, and any kind of winning. Didn't you hear?
And that if all that, and that if mounted the
I know that one will come there. I know that he's discredited. I mean, he said everything about his own party, and then later when things have not changed, and he thought that we're not even listening. I mean, look at how they treat us. Well, next time it will get to him.
Let's come back.
But my point is that you see, these low IQ people and people whose intelligence quotients are very low, we should not allow them to want to swindle us. Okay, let the law take its course. And I am surprised that you guys went about campaigning, not knowing that you still have a plan B. And I'm explaining, I'm trying to recall that, what Kenya Japan said. That look, if you dare me, I'm going to expose how we won the 2020 election. He said that, you want to cut me. I'm sitting my somewhere. Then you bring me in. Then I'm
not trying to cut you, but I'm saying, may we clarify that in the Ayawaso West Oregon situation, I didn't hear which candidates thumbprinted.
I've not mentioned any candidates.
Yes. But because of what Lawyer Kwebu had brought, the angle Lawyer Kwebu had introduced, I think that it is. I am obligated to put that clarity to bear.
Well, I've not mentioned.
But take a dig also at the military situation in Teshi.
No, the military situation in Teshi. You see, I'm hearing that they fired into the air just to calm people down or just to let those who are being rowdy, just calm down. But my point is, were they invited by the head of election security? Was it the IGP who called them there? Because what we were told was that the military would have no role to play in the process unless they've been invited.
Right.
So is it that the police was overwhelmed? Or this was one of the strategy that the ruling government is implementing just to undermine the authority of the IGP. Who sent them there?
Fair question.
Who sent the military there?
The police will have to clarify that point.
And the military high command, we expect them to also be speaking about some of these things. Okay, we expect them to be speaking about some of these things. If they were not legitimately invited there, then what was the business? What was their business going there to be firing warning shots?
I see.
You are in a hurry to go to Martin. I don't know why. I speak for 1 minute, then you go to 1 minute.
It's midnight. Lawyer quickly.
Man, he has nothing to say.
No, you cannot say that. Lawyer we'll take a dig at that quickly, and then my team will have to say good night.
Good. So, citizens, let's start celebrating that we've done a good job at vigilance. So that means our accountability is increasing. I like especially the fact that we've been very vigilant and watching the military. You know, this military were brought in to help one side, right? But you've shown that you don't fear the guns. And so that should be a lesson to the military, those who send them, okay? Those who send them especially. You know, it's to be expected that in every society, every institution, there will be rogues. I'm saying so because I know the larger part of the military are law-abiding and are even supporting JM from some of the results I've seen. But these rogues were especially organized and sent around to help the other side. Now they see they've been exposed. Thank you.
Lawyer, thank you so much for talking to us. Prof, I would have given you 30 seconds to say your final words to the Ghanaian people.
My final words to the Ghanaian people is that, look, we have done well, but at the same time, we should bow down our heads in shame for allowing or for recording 2 deaths in this election. And it was... This was
needless.
a needless, occurrence, and we should be aiming at holding elections that are seamless. Now, let us all relax, hold on, and then expect the Electoral Commission to collate all the results. Let them tell us who has won. Then we can now come in to dissect or to proffer reasons and explanations as to the electoral success and electoral defeat of political parties. We have all of them.
Prof, you took the 30 seconds I didn't give you, but you took it by force, and I appreciate you for coming.
Since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence.
I appreciate you for coming. And I appreciate Lawyer Martin Kpebu as well. Gentlemen, thank you. So much. And the gentleman on the other side.
And yes, indeed. Look, there's a lot to look out for in the next 6 hours and over here on your election command center, because issues are happening. The results are from the polling station and the constituency level trickling in thick and fast here on your election command center, and the events as well also happening as and when they do happen. We will definitely bring it to you here on your election command center.
What a night it's been, right?
True
and this is actually the best time to stay with TV3, because in the next few minutes, the Electoral Commission will start declaring the results. So if you really want to get to know whether the person you voted for won, this is your best bet. This is your election command center, because the results are already coming in. And many of you already have seen how the constituency results are shaping up. If you go to our website, you can also have a sense of how the results declared at other polling stations and some of the constituency collation centers are looking like. So stay. The rest of the team will definitely bring you a very good picture of what the next parliament, the 9th parliament, will be looking like, and who will be heading to the Jubilee House or Flagstaff House, depending on which part of the divide you stand.
Certainly. And stay with us, because Johnny Hughes and the team are taking over from us. But I want you to take a listen to the former president of Botswana, the Honorable Mesisi, also giving us his take over the period.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Ghana.
Thank you.
Say Akwaba to you.
Akwaba.
Well, how many police stations have you?
Of the layout of the polling stations, I've also observed clarity in terms of the protocols and the participation of the party agents. I've also observed a very soothing calmness and a commitment to have a fair and free election. I have observed a gentle demeanor, disposition displayed by the election officials and the police security agents manning those stations. I've also observed a keenness to vote by a variety of people from the very first station we were at, polling station, which was the Ghana Technical University. An elderly woman, clearly mourning in black, was the first to vote. But all in all, it's a very refreshing display of democratic practice.
And you hear many talk about the need to uphold peace before, during, and after this election, and the exhibition of the commitment of the Ghanaian people to this democratic process that you talk about. I know you've been engaging the Electoral Commission as well prior to today, and then also the various political parties, I see the NPP and the NDC. What were some of the issues that came to the fore during your engagement?
Oh, there are a variety of issues, but you know, you need to filter through those to distill those that are essentially political rhetoric and those that have merit, and you carry those forward and you validate or check on them. So we had very strong positivity expressed by all, I must say, towards a commitment to peace and fairness, transparency. That was very refreshing. And a commitment to be responsive by the institutions that man the elections. You know, the police, who are the providers of the peace and law enforcers, the primary ones, and the Electoral Commission, its commitment to be responsive, to be transparent, accessible to all, and to put itself out there for any contestation or challenge. We saw a lot of commitment of and eagerness to participate by the parties. Sure, they would be challenging some things that they were suspicious about, which is usual and normal in an election, and it's how you respond to those. And more importantly, a commitment to follow through in the event there's a grievance. The processes as laid out in the law. We saw and were told of a deep commitment by the Attorney General, by the police, Inspector General, including those who were going to be observing elections, monitoring the elections, of a real commitment to making sure that there is compliance. So we saw a number of NGOs. We saw not just political actors, but we saw the Peace Council, which was very impressive in the work they've done, in the real commitment to peace and the attributes of peace being followed through. We saw also a number of NGOs of traditionally marginalized groups, you know, the youth, women, people with disabilities, and it was very encouraging to see the extent of willingness to partake in these elections. We saw a commitment to making sure that people follow through the processes of opening, of, you know, verifying the voters, and a calm peace in the voters willing to so do. So in the voting stations I've been to, you know, give or take the fact that some may have delayed a little bit in the opening for a variety of reasons, I saw very high levels of efficacy.
Now, prior to this, and the engagement that you talk about with the Electoral Commission, and I'm sure that when you engage the political parties, some of them did raise concerns about the sense of integrity,
yes,
and you know, the suspicion of mistrust and so on, yes, for the commission. How was that addressed? I mean, with your engagement with the various stakeholders?
Well, we raised every of the points that were raised by the political parties who were questioning the integrity of the Electoral Commission, you know, and they provided clarity on those and an assurance that there was no foul play, there was no ill intent, and that everything was made the more transparent, even by inviting the media to participate, even in the IGP, the inter-party dialogue meetings that take place, which are broadcast and open to the media. even assurance that much as they had initially wanted to be restrictions to the validation and the voting count, the declarations, they've opened it up and they're going to have a big marquee, which we will go and test out.